live on Instagram?
Yep, I'm ready. Okay. And all right, great. And you're going to feed me questions live,
Yep.
not on this. Okay, good. So then I can close everything out and just be present. Hey, good morning or good evening, wherever you are. I'm Mel Robbins, and welcome to video 21 of our free live month-long program called Mindset Reset. If you're watching this, you're more than 200,000 people around the world. You've joined our community by watching this video who are taking the month to do a mindset reset. Today, video 21 is a training that we have been planning for a long time. I am incredibly excited because we are going to be talking to you about kids and anxiety. And if you have a young kid, if you have a teenager, we're going to be covering strategies based on research that will be effective in how you think about anxiety, how you address anxiety, how you help your children build skills around anxiety. And before we get started, I want to say two exciting things. Number one, if you're not part of Mindset Reset yet and you want to get our daily emails and you want to be alerted as to the content that we're covering and the tools that we're giving out, go to melrobbins.com/mindsetreset. It's free. We're not selling you anything. We're not trying to get you into a mastermind group or a private Facebook page or a coaching program. That's not what happens. That's not what's happening here. We are putting this content out because we know it makes a difference. When you change how you think, you change your life. And there are very simple science-backed tools that you can learn, that your kids can learn, that you can use for the rest of your life to constantly be reprogramming your default network in your brain. And if you don't know what that is, no problem. All of the videos in Mindset Reset cover it, and you can watch them for free on YouTube. The other reason why you want to sign up for the email is because we are sending and emailing out incredibly amazing resource guides that go along with these free trainings. And today, I'm super excited to tell you that we have this amazing guide that our team put together based on all the research that's out there called From Worry to Winning, Tools to Help Kids Reclaim Their Superpowers and Beat Anxiety. So if you or somebody in your life has a youngster, so probably 12 and under, 13 and under, who are starting to worry, and the worry is beyond just the normal kids' worries. The worry is starting to interfere with them wanting to go to school or wanting to participate in things. This is absolutely a free resource that you want. The only way to get it, go to melrobbins.com/mindsetreset, and you will get it emailed to you with the links for this video. What does it contain? It contains the top 5 advice that we're going to give about kids and anxiety and tools that you can use. It also has a message for you to help you read and understand what anxiety and worry is and what it isn't. And we also offer you some awesome free resources in the back of this guide to help you further help your kids. What I'm going to cover in today's video is I'm going to cover a bunch of things that I want you to know about anxiety, worry, kids, and teens. And so a couple things that I want to say up front. There is a major difference between a clinical anxiety disorder and the rise of worry and anxiety that is troubling pediatricians, that's troubling parents, that's troubling grandparents, that's troubling teachers around the world. And if you have a child who is starting to have the kind of worry or anxiety that is causing them to no longer be able to be themselves or to do the things that they used to be able to do, like get out of bed, go to school, eat, hang out with their friends, go to sleepovers. If they are starting to withdraw from life, that's not just worry or anxiety. That is a much deeper hole that your child is falling into, and it is incredibly important that you go seek one-to-one counsel from your pediatrician. That's where you start. And that you get your child the one-to-one help that they need. Because what we're going to be talking about today is what anxiety is and how, as a parent, you cannot buy into it when it is the more standard form of anxiety that kids reach for when they're feeling uncertain or they feel out of control. We're going to talk about the need to validate where your kids are and the fact that the only thing that works is to come up with a process, to do a lot of planning, and then to practice the plan. Because when it comes to anxiety and worry, it is critical that you realize that you've got to get out of the habit as a parent of trying to fix what your kid is worried about in the moment, and to pull back and start to teach your child the skill of being able to tolerate uncertainty, the skill of being able to problem solve when they start to get a little bit scared, the skill of being able to ask for help when they're in situations that make them feel worried, instead of just worrying and being anxious and getting you to fix the situation for them. So let's start right there. Just by way of background, everything that we have covered so far in Mindset Reset, the first 20 videos, is relevant to the conversation today. If you haven't watched them, no problem. Don't worry about it. You can go to YouTube at any time. You can go to melrobbins.com/mindsetreset at any time, and you can watch these videos at your leisure and as it works for you and the time that you have. On videos 1 through 8, we covered the science around how we think. We talk about the default network mode in your brain. We talk about how to reprogram it. We talk about how to think this and not that. We talk about all kinds of incredible stuff that will give you foundational knowledge, not just for you, but also foundational knowledge about how people learn how to think and how we get stuck in patterns around thinking, and why it's important to recognize those patterns and be deliberate about updating them. We then talked in videos 9 through 11 about your morning routine. And this is important for kids too. You should be plugging your phone in at night, and you should be waking up when the alarm rings, and you should be planning the first 10 minutes of your day without looking at your phone, without turning on the TV. So if your kids are sleeping with their phones, if your kids are coming down with their face in their phones and watching YouTube as they're eating breakfast, that's a problem. And it's a problem that will contribute to their anxiety. And so even the videos 9 through 11 that have to do with evening routines and morning routines and how that impacts your mindset and your worries and the patterns that you think in, majorly critical for you to understand that this is all applicable for your kids too. We started talking about anxiety on video 13, and now we're video 21, so 8 videos in, we're still talking about anxiety. These are really important videos for you to take a look at so that you have a better understanding about how worry can spiral into anxiety. And that worry is the patterns that you think that are negative, and anxiety is when you start to feel those negative patterns as agitation in your body. We talked about triggers in video 14, and that's going to be a very relevant video for you, video 14, because you're going to be, as part of the process of helping your kids build the skill of being able to tolerate uncertainty, part of that process is helping them plan what they're going to do if they face a situation with uncertainty. And that's all about identifying triggers, and that's video 14. Then we talked about anchor thoughts in video 15. And those are the thoughts that help anchor you. It's part of the planning process. It's part of what you're going to practice with your kids. And we're going to explain it all today, but I wanted to be very clear that whether you've been part of Mindset Reset or not, that everything that we have done today is going to empower you as a parent, as an educator, as a grandparent, just as a human being, to understand not only worry and anxiety and your thinking patterns and how to change them so that you can believe in yourself, so that you can be happier, so that you can be more positive and focused, but it's also going to educate and arm and equip you with the confidence and the knowledge to be able to now tweak it and apply it so that it's age appropriate for your kids. So with that gigantic disclaimer, let me talk about kids and anxiety. And when I talk about kids, I'm talking basically from about 13 down. And then after I'm done talking about kids 13 down, I'm going to give you some extra tips for teens, okay? So anxiety, if this is the first time you're thinking about it, anxiety is what happens when you are worrying about something in the future that makes you feel uncertain or makes you feel like you're going to lose control. That's it. Anxiety is when you start worrying about things in the future that make you feel uncertain or make you feel like you're about to lose control, and you start to get a stomachache. or you start to feel tightness in your throat, or you start to shake your hands, or you start to have your heart race, or you start to have sweaty palms, your body starts to get agitated because you're really busy worrying about the test tomorrow. You're really busy worrying about whether or not you're going to throw up. You're really busy worrying about that sleepover and whether or not it's going to go okay. You're really busy worrying about whether or not your friends are going to talk to you when you walk into school today. Or you're busy worrying that something might happen to your parents. Why did I give you those examples? There was a specific reason why. The top worries that kids 12 and under have are, number one, throwing up. Now, why would throwing up cause kids anxiety? Because as an adult, you've probably done it a bunch, and so you know, you throw up, it's over, it sucks, but that's it. There's no sense getting yourself worked up about it. But for kids, this is the number one thing that kids are afraid of, because it is an enormous loss of control when it happens. And it scares a lot of kids to have that happening to them because their brains aren't matured and they don't understand that it's just a moment. So they're not actually worried about the throwing up. They're having anxiety because they're thinking that it could happen at some point, and that makes their body feel weird. And then, of course, because their body feels weird, it makes them certain that it's coming. I mean, kids can actually, I have a son that actually made himself throw up because he got so worked up thinking that he might, that he caused himself to. This is a true story. Absolutely true story. So I have lived this. Being worried about you dying, major cause of worry for kids. They think about it. And if they think about it too much and they don't have a process and a plan around how to live with that very normal fear, it will turn into anxiety. The social pressures of being accepted, going to a sleepover and being worried about what's going to happen because you've never been to the house before. You don't really like dogs and they have one. Your friend's dad kind of scares you. What time are we going to go to bed? You see, there's a lot of uncertainty that we adults don't think about when it relates to sleepovers at new friends' houses that your kids are worrying about. And if they stay up here and they start worrying about all the uncertainty, it's going to cause their body to start to freak out. And then the whole thing starts to spiral. And next thing they don't want to go, or they get there and they're on edge and they need to come home. Again, we've had that situation in our family too, where the inability to tolerate the uncertainty of something that's supposed to be fun. When am I going to bed? What are we going to eat? Will I throw up while I'm there? Are they going to like me? What are their parents like? What TV are we going to watch? What time are you picking me up in the morning? All of those unanswered questions and the inability to tolerate the uncertainty of that triggers the anxiety in your kids. This is what's happening in their brains. The rejection of friends. You know, the group dynamics of kids, particularly in middle school, brutal. You couldn't pay me millions of dollars to go back to middle school at this point. But your kids are walking into it every day and they're worrying about whether or not they're being accepted because every moment in school is a moment of uncertainty about whether or not you're going to get the answer right, whether or not people are going to laugh, whether or not you're wearing the right things. And so again, these are all the things that trigger your child to worry because they are racked with situations that cause uncertainty and that make our kids feel like they might lose control. Now, here's the major mistake that you and I make as parents. When our kids start to worry, or when our kids start to feel anxious, which is the agitation in their body, you know what you and I immediately do? We immediately try to fix it. We swoop right in, and we start to either say, you're going to be okay, and we assure them, because we're trying to fix it, right? We're trying to make the worry go away. We say, oh, well, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and this is going to happen. And so we answer all their questions, and we start to put in all kinds of certainty for them. And that is the exact opposite thing that you and I should be doing. And it's not our fault. We've kind of been doing it forever, haven't we? I mean, we're always worried about our kids. And so we put up gates at the top of stairs so that they don't fall down. We've got child locks on caps so that they don't eat anything. We stopped buying the Tide Pods because we didn't want them to choke on it. Like as parents, we're constantly anticipating things that could go wrong. We're putting in controls. And so it is natural for you and me to jump into fix-it mode. If you want to get your kid to move beyond the grip of anxiety, you have to understand how your behavior is contributing to the anxiety itself. See, one of the things that I believe about anxiety is the reason why we develop it and the reason why we keep it around is because it works. I mean, if your kid is anxious and they start freaking out, they don't have to go to school. So all of a sudden that situation that they felt uncomfortable around, they've now gained control because the anxiety worked. You swooped in, you fixed it, you said, that's okay, you don't have to go. And the problem with doing this is that we might be managing the momentary breakdown, but we are not teaching our kids a critical skill in life, and that is the ability to tolerate not knowing and the ability in the face of not knowing to assure yourself that no matter what, you'll figure it out. That is one of the most critical things that you could teach your kids. The self-reliance, the resiliency, the courage, and the confidence to know that even though I feel a little nervous and even though I don't have all the answers, I can trust that I can figure it out. And so that's the kind of biggest picture, that I want you to switch your mind from thinking you got to fix this for your kids. And that's us buying into the anxiety. And realize that when anxiety is present, it means that your child, my child, can't cope with uncertainty. And now as a parent, it's my job to teach them how. Which brings me to what you're going to do. So it's a process to do this. And it's going to require you to change how you relate to their anxiety. Because if you're guilty of trying to fix it just like I am, you're going to have to change that. When your child starts feeling very anxious about something or getting worried about puking or worried about the test or worried, in my case, I'm dealing with this right now with our teenager who has a massive audition. Are we off? Are we over?
No, we're good.
Okay. I'm sorry, we're at our offices in a conference room we've reserved and people were gathering. My daughter has a massive audition this weekend. And she's starting to get nervous. And why shouldn't she? I mean, this is a really big deal. She should be excited, but she's about to do something huge. And so, of course, that's going to be natural. I can't buy into it. Because if I buy into it, I'm going to make it worse. Because I'm going to try to fix her nerves. I need to validate. This is advice number one. Always validate where your kid is. Always. I get that you're nervous. I get that you are feeling anxious about this. I get that your stomach hurts. I get that you are doing all kinds of X, Y, and Z, and you have a right to be. Hold on one second. Were we good?
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if there's another.
Sorry, we might be getting kicked out of our conference room in case we'll mobilize. So number one, validate. You have to validate where they're at, because part of the problem is our normal reaction is to go into fix-it mode, which completely jumps over them feeling like that you don't even get the feelings that they're feeling. The second thing that we do is we go, calm down, I'll help you fix this. And saying calm down, that's the worst thing that you could possibly do. Because when you say calm down to a child that's worried or anxious, what you're actually saying is, your worries don't matter to me. Your worries are silly. Your worries aren't valid. And so the last thing that you should ever say is calm down, because it sends the exact opposite message of what you want. So number one, validate. Totally get that you're nervous. I know that this is important to you. Tell you what, we're going to work together to make a plan. That is the number one word you want to say. Plan, plan, plan. Because when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to worries about the future, think about this for a minute. They're getting triggered by the fact that things are uncertain. They're getting triggered by the fact that, in my case this weekend, my daughter doesn't know how her audition's going to go. Your child's getting triggered by the fact that they don't know how the test is going to go. And so what you want to do is teach your child that in moments of uncertainty, the solution is not to panic, it's to plan. And that's where your skills come in. So here's what you're going to do. What I want you to do today is I want you to sit down with your son or daughter, and I want you to go through and identify all the things that trigger them to start worrying. All of the things that trigger them to feel anxious about something. Is it a friend situation? Is it a tryout situation like my daughter has this weekend? Is it a fear of throwing up at school? What is the thing that your child is worrying about? And if they're just worried about school, break it down further. You guide them through the process of taking this big thing, which is uncertainty and not knowing, and breaking it down into what exactly are you concerned about. The next thing that you're going to do once you identify the triggers and you get them to describe the situation that they're worrying about is you're going to come up with a plan. This is critical, okay? So let me give you some examples of it. A plan might be, we used to do this with our son, Oakley. A plan might be, okay, you're nervous about this sleepover. You're nervous because you've never been to the house before. You're nervous because they have 5 or 6 dogs and you don't know what that's going to be like. You're nervous because you don't know what time they're going to go to bed. You're nervous because you don't know what you're going to have for dinner. And you're nervous about that because you're nervous that if it triggers something in your throat, you might throw up. And you're nervous that you're not going to be able to sleep through the middle of the night. You're nervous that if you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to know what to do and you're going to get scared. Like, you will be shocked when you start to actually ask your kids questions. Okay, and what else? What else? Oh, yeah, okay, I totally get that. I get that that worries you. What else? Remember, you're going to ask them, validate. Ask them, validate. Now that you have all the things that they're worried about, come up with a plan. This is called A-B planning. When you come up with a A-B plan, you are, based on the research, 67% more likely to be successful with your plan. And one of the cool things about kids and anxiety is that when you have pre-planned what they're going to do in the event one of these things that they're worried about happens, since you've pre-planned what they're going to do, guess what you've removed? The uncertainty. It works like magic. Okay, great. So you're worried about dinner. What do you think we could do in order to remove the worry? Oh, I don't know. Well, do you think you could text your friend and ask them what they're having for dinner? Is there something you're concerned that they're serving? Because if you're concerned that they're serving something, we can pack you something to eat if you don't like it. Is that a plan that makes you feel better? Yep, it sure does. What are you going to do at 2 o'clock in the morning if you wake up and you want to come home? I'll tell you what, you're going to call me. Well, why does that worry you? Well, I'm worried you won't hear it. Okay, well, let me show you. What kind of plan can we come up with that will give you control over a situation that you're worried about? Oh, you're going to leave your phone in your bedroom. I'm turning on the ringer, so I trust that it's going to happen. Dad's phone is going to be on. These are all planning tools that remove uncertainty. And it's also super valuable because you are teaching your child the critical skill of learning how to tolerate something that you're uncertain about, to not get triggered, and instead to make a plan so that you can live with the uncertainty and you can create control in ways that is healthy instead of having a panic attack, which makes everybody else around you try to control what's happening. Do you see how this works? I mean, it's going to take planning on your part, and it's going to take you and parenting in a different way. And, you know, look, I've been doing this with my own anxiety for more than 2 decades. I have 2 kids in particular that have pretty consistent issues related to anxiety. And just like Mindset Reset, it's not an event, it's a process. And the things that tripped up my son and made him anxious and worried when he was 9, we've now used what I'm telling you. I've validated it, we've gone through, we've broken things down, we've made a plan, we've even practiced the plan. He used to be terrified of getting on elevators, so we came up with a plan for what would happen if we were ever in one that broke down, and we practiced the plan. And we got on elevators together. And we even went and talked to somebody at the fire department about what happens when elevators... I mean, you can dismantle anxiety through the process of validating the worry, identifying what triggers the uncertainty, and making a plan and practicing it. And in fact, it's really the only way that works. And so the cool thing is that you're teaching your kids a skill that they can apply to anything. Oakley's anxiety has basically all but disappeared. And my daughter Kendall's anxiety only comes up when there are very acute situations of high stakes, like the one that we're facing right now. So in just a second, I'm going to take some questions from you, but I want to jump in and talk a little bit about how you tweak this for teens, because your teens are probably not going to sit down with you and go through their day and unpack everything that makes them anxious. If they do, that's fantastic, and you should use the exact same process that I just outlined for younger kids. But if your teens are full-on anxiety-ridden, most of it is triggered by social stuff with their friends. Most of it is triggered by the dynamic that you and I don't even understand, that has become so much more consuming, because a couple things about teenagers that I want you to understand that are going on at the same time. Number one, you have to understand that teenagers are, what's a good word for a human being in progress? So it's sort of like a half-built house. You know what I'm saying? They're like a house that's been framed, okay? And we've got the Tyvek up, but we have not finished it yet. Your kids' brains are under development, so their ability to do complex processing or to make strategic, measured decisions, not developed yet. Boys in particular, their brain structure is very different than girls. They are more likely to take stupid risks. They're more likely not to think about the long-term consequences. Both boys and girls are having hormones rage through their systems, which also impact their ability to process things in a way that is rational at times. And then on top of it, throw in these two facts about human behavior. When you are a teenager, you go through a period in your biological development of needing to separate from your parents and to become your own independent person. It is hardwired into the DNA of every human being to go off on your own and define yourself as an individual at this stage in your life. And so if you've noticed an increase in conflict, if you've noticed that your kids push back on you, if you've noticed that your kids are asserting their independence and doing it in ways that are stupid or irrational or annoying, that is just part of the biological process of going from a framed house to figuring out how to furnish the thing and finish it off inside. They are mandated by their DNA to now start to push away from you and to become self-defined instead of defined by their family unit. At the same time, when you're a teenager, the number one important thing to you in terms of social structure is your friends. Your family is no longer the source of safety and stability for you. For most teenagers, they transfer that to their friends, and their friends become their primary group of influence, of importance, and of stability. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you may have an absolutely extraordinary relationship with your kids. I'd like to think that Chris and I do. That does not change the fact that their social standing with their friends right now are way more psychologically impactful than their relationship with you. And since you and I are not in the middle of their social interactions, and also since your teenagers have a phone 24/7, so they don't ever have a break from that social interaction unless you make the break happen, the rise of worry about how you fit in and whether or not that last text bothered somebody and whether or not, this person's mad at you or whether or not you did the right thing or whether or not this person's, it is, I don't even know how to describe it because we didn't grow up this way. The pressure and the worry and the uncertainty and the desire and need to always feel like you're on and available and participating because of the DNA human behavior fact that your friend group is more important than anything right now. It defines who you are. That, in my opinion, has contributed dramatically to the rise in anxiety that we're seeing in teenagers because there's so much uncertainty. Every text you send, most kids are worried about how people are going to read it and whether or not people are going to think it's this or how many likes do you have. It's gotten crazy out of control. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that with teenagers in particular, it is essential that you do whatever you can to not get triggered by their anxiety, by their rage, by their irrational worries, by their pushing back. You know, there's a difference between getting triggered and drawing boundaries between destructive, unsafe, and disrespectful behavior. You can still draw boundaries between their behavior that's destructive, disrespectful, and dangerous, and you should and you must. But from the day-to-day pushing back, the not sharing, the anxiety, the blowing up about things, this is a time in your life where you got to have a lot of room for that. I think if you've been following... Oh, there we go. Okay. If you've been following me for a while, you know that procrastination is triggered by stress. So if you also notice that your teenagers are worried about college applications, or they're worried about exams, or they're worried about this audition this weekend, like KINDLE is for, this big program that she's applying to at USC, and they're blowing off what they need to do, they're not idiots. They're triggered by stress. This is a form of anxiety that kids are feeling. It's why kids procrastinate, because they feel so much stress right now. So the last thing I want you to do is to be yelling at them. The last thing that I want you to do is swoop in and fix it. The last thing that I want you to do is to take it personally. If your kids are acting out, if they're showing forms of anxiety at home, some therapists I've read and have been told tell me that that's actually a decent sign, because your kids are trying to hold it together outside of your house. And when they come home, they feel safe enough psychologically that they're letting the worst out. They're letting their vulnerabilities show. They're acting out in a way because they know that it's a safe place to do so. Now, it might be irritating as hell for you. It might trigger your own anxiety. It might drive you into fix-it mode. It might, in the case that it has been for KINDLE and I, ignite combative behavior between the two of you because you're both seeking control in a situation. KINDLE seeking control over the audition process and the stress she feels around it, and I'm seeking control over KINDLE, who in my opinion is starting to let her anxiety get the best, and it's a disaster. So with teens, you got to do what I am actively practicing every single day right now, and that is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take 5 before you snap or get angry or try to fix it. And I want you to quiet the conversation. And I want you to validate what you observe. You seem really upset. You seem anxious. I know you're worried about the audition. Do you need support? And I want you to ask them what's going on with you. Whether it's rage, whether it's anxiety, whether it's worry, what's going on with you? Because when you quiet things down, you're not stirring the pot. You're not invalidating them by yelling at them or telling them to calm down or fixing it. You're validating where they're at. And then what you're going to do is you're going to quiet and say, what's going on and what can I do? That's it. That's it. And they'll tell you if they need help. And if they tell you nothing and you can't help, keep inquiring. Are you sure? Because you don't seem like yourself. What could I do to really support you right now? Right now. Because what you're trying to do with teens is you need to get them to slow down the emotion so that they can get back to being rational. And from there, you can start the process of breaking things down and helping them come up with a plan. Don't ever create the plan for a teenager. Don't do it. You have to make them come up with the plan, because they will not be invested in the plan you come up with. But they will be invested in one that they do. I think that's all I got, which is quite a bit. Are we sending this out today?
Yes.
So also
In
the email that's going out, if you want the email, go to melrobbins.com/mindsetreset. This is a tool for kids 12 and under. And inside this tool, I walk through the top 5 age-appropriate metaphors that you can use and teach to your kids to give them the superpower to recognize when they're starting to worry, and to use some forms of metacognition, that's a fancy word for mind tricks, to help them redirect their thoughts. Today's training was really about how you as an adult start thinking about anxiety, why it's there, what it is, and how to change your approach from fixing everything and buying into it to backing up and learning. With anxiety, it's not about fixing the moment. It's about teaching your child a longer term skill, that they can live with uncertainty, that they can tolerate it, and that they have the tools to be able to break it down, to make a plan, to practice the plan, and to survive whatever is coming their way. And that is the greatest gift that you could give to your kids. So if you want this, make sure you go to melrobbins.com/mindsetreset, or yep, that's it, and that'll get mailed out today. We are not broadcasting tomorrow. This was a massively long and important training. We do not do Mindset Reset on the weekends because my team needs a break. I need to reset my mind, and I also need to fly to LA to do this audition with KINDLE. Very excited for her. And you know what I'm going to be practicing all weekend? Just not buying into the worries and the anxiety and being in a place of service and validation and what do you need and how can I help, and just letting her ride the wave that she needs to ride as she has one of the coolest, most awesome moments of her life, regardless of how it goes. Do we have any questions? I'm sure we have a good jillion of them.
Yes, we do. I thought this was a good one. Fixing the problem versus helping create a plan. How does that work when you tell a child if they wake up scared, he'll come home and get you, as opposed to making a plan but also not fixing it?
Right. Okay, great. So you don't tell them, if you wake up scared, I'll come get you. What you do is you say, you co-create the plan. So what you want to do is you want to say, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. What's the first thing that you could do if you're lying there in your friend's, trundle bed? What's the first thing that you could do in order to be able to fall back asleep? And so this is where anchor thoughts we covered in video 15, and there's lots of anchor thoughts discussed in this. You could have them rub their blanket 10 times and think about how good the pancakes are going to be. You could have them think about how excited they're going to be when you pick them up in the morning. You could help them come up with a mantra. And then if they're still worried or agitated, you get them to practice it. You get them to agree to it. You can also ask them, would you like me to call your friend's mom and walk through this plan? Would you like me to ask the mom if it's okay for you to wake her up if you wake up? You can kind of offer alternatives, and then ultimately, if they're still worried, you can say, and tell you what, if you try all those things, let's make a deal. If you, tap the blanket 10 times, if you close your eyes and think about the pancakes that she's going to make in the morning, if you close your eyes and think about happy and proud you're going to be that you spent the night and you stayed the whole time, if you know that the mom is there to help you and will come and rub your back if that happens, which is what you love when I do. And if all else, if that still doesn't feel comfortable and you try all that, you know that the mom can call me and I'll come get you. That's how I would handle it. So I wouldn't go DEFCON 10 to the solution where, I just wake up, okay, I'm going to call mom. And look, it's a process. The first couple times we tried this with our son, guess what? I got the phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning. But he had tried the other stuff. He did. And the next morning we talked about it. And the thing that's interesting about our kids is they're not letting you down. But when they don't succeed at something they want to succeed at, like making it all night at a sleepover, they've let themselves down. And so you and me constantly trying to fix it and rescue them doesn't work. And so what you do in that situation where they did call you is what I would do with Oka. I'd be like, okay, great. Let's try again. What do you think might have been another thing that we could have made as part of our plan? Well, I really didn't like the dinner that she served because, my stomach started to hurt. Great. So how about we do this? How about you don't do sleepovers until after you've had dinner at home? What if we put that in and we try it next time and we talk to them? And so it's going to be a process. He didn't just get on an elevator because we made a plan. We had to practice the plan. Then we had to see that there were other things that made him nervous, and practicing is part of it too. Excellent question.
We just got another one, and we've been getting this for a lot of parents, especially with teens,
Yeah.
about test anxiety and
Yes.
exam anxiety.
Yes.
So wife, mother, nurse on Instagram asked, how can I help my daughter who's starting exams on Monday, and she has developed extreme anxiety around
Great.
testing? She's normally very confident. She's doing all the stuff to prepare, but she keeps getting so anxious when it comes to testing.
Great. So how do you help your kids, teenagers in particular, with test anxiety? So number one, nothing will substitute for preparation. So one of the things that I've realized with my own kids is that most of our kids do not have the executive functioning skills. And executive functioning, if you don't know the term, this was something I learned because two of my kids have learning learning disabilities, differences, whatever you want to call it. The executive functioning ability is like having a secretary in your brain that basically goes, oh, I have a test on Monday. I guess I better make a plan. I guess I better buy some note cards. I guess I better do some time blocking. I guess I better take the stuff that I have. Like, it's the directing of yourself to go step by step by step through a process. And most kids don't have it. And it took me a long time to realize that my kids don't have it. And you have to teach that to your kids. So one of the things that you might want to stop and consider is her studying technique actually effective for her? Because a lot of kids who get worried spend a lot of time staring at books, but they're not actually studying. And so you can Google this topic. Jim Quick, Kwik, has incredible free content about the brain and memory and studying, and he's a great resource. But I always sit down with my kids before the exam season starts, and I go, okay, let's make a map. Let's make a plan for the next 8 days leading up to the exam that you have, and let's break out and time block how you're going to spend your time and what you're going to spend on it so that you are studying in a way that makes you feel certain that you're doing the best that you can. So that's the way that I would coach you through preparation. When it comes to the mental game, there are two things that work, okay? Preparation is just a non-starter. If they haven't prepared, of course, they should be worried. But if they're preparing and they have a plan and mapping it out with Post-it notes and we always get a poster board for exam season and map the whole schedule out so they can see it. Seeing it visually reinforces that I've got a plan. You know, I don't need to worry about the test. I need to worry about the plan right now and doing the plan. It's super ridiculously powerful for kids. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to teach them two tools. You have to teach them the trick to say, I'm excited. When you have performance anxiety, if you allow yourself to worry, the worrying and the spinning in your head triggers your body to release cortisol, and cortisol then impairs your ability to remember what you studied. Harvard Medical School researchers have figured out that if you go into a situation like an exam that makes you nervous and worried and anxious, and you start going, I'm so excited to take this exam, I'm so excited because I prepared, I'm so excited to get this over with, I'm so excited, you perform better because you trick your body, and your body, because you're saying I'm excited, doesn't release cortisol, so you remember what you studied. It works like a charm. It's super simple. It's backed by research. Are you looking at me because we got to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's going to kick us out of here in just a second. And we'll do a Q&A on Monday. Huge Q&A. So the second thing is, coach your kid, and I'm already doing with this Kindle. So every time she said I'm nervous about my audition on Sunday, I'm like, no, you're not. You're excited. You know, you're about to do something cool. Keep saying you're excited. The second thing I'm coaching her to do is use a self-coaching tool where you ask yourself, why am I prepared? Why am I excited to take the test? And in Kendall's say, here's what she can say. I've been performing for 12 years. I've practiced my 3 songs. They picked me out of 2,000 kids to come and do a live audition. And by answering the question, why am I prepared? Why am I excited? By having to answer it, I've been practicing and singing on stages for 12 years. They actually picked me for my video audition. I've been practicing my songs. Heck, I'm even performing in a theater thing tonight. I can't wait for this to happen. By answering it, you hear yourself coming up with evidence for why. Now look, we're about to get kicked out of this room, so I want you to go have an absolutely amazing weekend. To get this, go to mindsetreset/Mel, or no, go to melrobbins.com/mindsetreset. And this will be part of the email that goes out today. Take the entire weekend to watch the videos that I referred to, videos 1 through 20, to sit down with your kids, to digest this material, to think about what you're doing that buys into their anxiety, and to start to shift your own pattern of thinking from being a pattern of fixing everything from your kids in the moment to teaching your kids the more important skill of being able to face and live with uncertainty and not get triggered, but instead to realize they just need to break it down and make a plan and focus on the things that they can control. In case nobody else tells you today, I want to make sure that I tell you that I love you, I believe in you, and I believe in your kids' ability to change your life by making small changes like changing how you think, changing the tools that you're using, changing how you think about the way that you deal with anxiety, from fix, fix, fix to, hey, plan, plan, plan. Let's build a skill here. And when you do that, your life will change. Thank you, as always, for watching. On Monday, we're going to do a big Q&A about kids and anxiety and teens and anxiety. So please, 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 if this has been a valuable video for you, please share this with your friends. Please share this with your family members. Please share this with other parents, because there are tools out there that will help you and your kids and the kids that you care about. And this video and this From Worry to Winning is an excellent place to start. Have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you Monday.